Trenton. I'm joined by Swarzando, who may or may not be having technical difficulties at this exact second.
Yeah, we're working on it.
And we are getting ready to go. We've got 3 runners chasing that elusive 0, which is the best score you can have for the round. It's a low score thing. So 3 runners chasing that win for this round still in Maya with Brilliant and Zalnop. We do have one runner in this race who is trying to defend for Team 0. That is Len the Cat. He picked up a win earlier in this stage, but otherwise, all of our other runners are looking for that win for the first time. Waiting on the setup side of things to be 100% ready to go before we get started here, but we should be close. And if you're thinking, hey, this sounds fun and you want to see more of it, well, there will be more of it with the Midnight Madness kickoff match at not 1 a.m. It would have been 1 a.m. under the old time system, but now we sprung forward. Anyways, 12:01 tonight will be the first match of the next round.
Yeah, for those of you who didn't follow forward with your clocks this morning, you probably overslept for church, and you know what? That's a shame. We are off to the races. We're checking Black Magic, White Magic. We got Wall in Black, Lit 3, Fire 3, Fast in Black. That's a good start for Red Mage.
Looks like you're running just slightly ahead of us right now.
All right, that's a different restreamer. That's why. My apologies.
Okay, so Maya has just gotten into the Black Magic shop right now. A big selection of Black Magic spells. Unfortunately, all 3 of them probably one you want, but at least if you're going to have that much overlap, let it be at level 1. The bottle is for sale here in Corneria. Maya's able to show us that. The advantage of an early save before you actually go out and do anything is you don't have to reform your party if things go horribly, horribly wrong.
That is very true, but keep in mind, from personal experience, you want to make sure you allot enough money to go and save at the end before going out adventuring, or else you will have to remake your party.
There is an experience boost in this round, but with no flat rate, these early experience fights just aren't as good. So, for example, if you had the flat 500 rate on, you'd easily go from level 1 to 4 with everybody off that 5-pack of imps, but instead, Maya doesn't even get a level. However, he is the only one getting money right now, while our other 2 runners are up at Temple of Fiends. Brilliant about to go for Garland, and Lit 3 will probably take care of the job. It didn't, and Garland has Toxic, so rip his party. This is going to be interesting.
Garland, the Great Gatekeeper.
Now, you do not have to fight Garland right at this moment. With early bridge... Oh, the imps have ice too, even! Brilliant is just seeing all the fun stuff.
Imps, the Great Gatekeeper of this match.
Oh, this is a fun Temple of Fiends. The spiders have passed. So the thing about Garland is he doesn't have that many hit point space, so you're probably going to be able to get him. And there's only a 1 in 3 chance he's going to do that Toxic, so you theoretically have a 2 in 3 chance if it takes 2 rounds of killing him before he actually does anything.
I'm not 100% sure that it's the flat 1 in 3 that you mentioned. There is a percentage chance that they are more likely to do one action over another. And without digging into the code of that, I wouldn't exactly be able to see.
Okay, but for approximation purposes, it's good enough.
Fair enough.
So you rescue a princess, you get a slightly used musical instrument. Antique, authentic musical instrument, I should say. Let's not undersell this.
I'm genuinely curious to the size of the musical instrument. I'm just wondering if it's obtuse or fat in nature.
I just always assume it's like they did in the old Legend of Zelda cartoon, where everything just shrinks when you're storing it. And it's like the size of a quarter, but then as soon as you need it, it restores to full size. I mean, can't I trust the cartoons to explain all my physics for me?
Oh yeah, I learned a lot from Tom and Jerry.
Silver bracelets for sale. They're a very nice source of defense on the cheap, if that's all you've got. For a black belt and a red mage, they can be quite valuable. Especially when you don't know how long it's going to take to find a gold bracelet, but you're probably going to find a gold and opal bracelet from treasure chests anyways, just based on percentages.
Sure. Kind of looks like Zalnop is sort of throwing himself at Garland here.
And he's getting a bias on the toxic side of things. It was interesting that he had a black belt turned to stone on the last time, so something here had the ability to do that, and we didn't see it sooner.
Yeah, I'm wondering if he realizes the early bridge option is on, because for me, if you realize in one round that you check the Temple Fiends treasures, if they're good, keep them, and if you die, either go back and get them or go across the bridge and move on, because I don't know that killing Garland right here is truly worth the amount of time invested.
Brilliant locates the TNT along with the Zeus Gauntlet and a Pro Cape. This is a Matoya's Cape that is just loaded.
Well, you're going to need them for those imps.
So the Zeus Gauntlet will cast a free charge of Lit 2 on the entire enemy party, which is going to be quite good against all the early stuff and against sea monsters. Maya will soon have the same treasures. Pro Cape is going to be a good defensive item for the red mage. They both make the same decision in putting that Zeus Gauntlet in the inventory of the black belt, which means the black belt is going to have the ability to do AoE damage.
Yeah, the black belt really doesn't have a whole lot to do until at least level 10 or 12 when they get 4-hit and a little better damage.
Looks like Zalnop was able to get Garland down, and now getting the money, so the princess is able to warp him back. I wonder if he saw the imps with ice too, and maybe didn't want to risk the walk back.
I don't know, because it depends on how the encounter table plays out. There's a certain threshold you can cross in the little swamp on the south side of Matoya's as you're running to Provoca, where once you cross that point, you won't encounter imps anymore, or at least you're extremely less likely to encounter the imp encounter. So it looks like we've got Brilliant in Provoca doing some magic shopping.
Now, Maya just fought an iguana, which is not a common encounter, but it kind of shows the difference in these flags for experience. If you have a flat bonus on, then packs become your great source of experience when it all adds up. We've got level 2 Fade that the red mage is able to learn. That's going to be very valuable.
Yes, it is.
And Warp and Ice 3. That is a stacked level 2. And yes, I would get the Ice 3 because when it comes to Waters and Temple of Fiends Revisited, I'd rather have Ice 3 than Fade.
I'm having deja vu because almost switch warp for fast. This exact thing happened to me last match, and I screwed up because I thought I wanted Cure 3 instead of Ice 3. And so I reset, set myself back a good 3 minutes because I thought I wanted Ice 3. Get back to Provoke, and I realized, no, I think Fade gets the job done. And so, I don't know. I guess mileage may vary on that.
If I have to choose between one, I will take Fade. Because it's going to be valuable in more situations.
So we've got Brilliant having taken down the pirates. We've got Maya on the pirates fight. And I am using a different Rune Stream source, so I'm trying not to be too far ahead of you guys.
Okay, well, we're just seeing Fade get off from Maya, so that's going to take care of everything. Not too worried with the AoEs in this one. You're going to be able to get one of those off eventually.
Yeah, especially if your pirates are very friendly.
Also with level 4, that's fine as far as this seed goes because we know we won't need Marsh Cave. If you don't know if you need Marsh Cave, it might tempt you to go to Peninsula of Power to do some grinding for levels to be safer in Marsh Cave. But in this seed, not using it, I like the idea of at least going to the Crescent Lake area first and seeing what that's going to do. Frost in the Creep Ogre formation, that can be very unpleasant.
Yeah, Frost early definitely hurts. That's one of those mid-range kind of spells, kind of like Cremate. Cremate is my least favorite ability in this game because when you see it, it's always not enough damage to wipe your whole party in many cases, but a whole lot of damage that it burns through your resources pretty quickly.
Yeah, when you talk about a high packing counter, like say the Sahags, or in the red Sahags for the what am I trying to say? Sunken Shrine, Water Shrine, whatever it is. If you're going to see 8 of those in an unrunnable encounter that can all cast the same AoE, anything that causes damage can be really unpleasant.
Yeah, and it definitely looks like Brilliant is encountering a little bit of trouble just trying to make it down to that dwarf cave with the frost creeps.
So Maya is going to hand in the TNT. He's also going to get 2 treasure chests, just some gold. Silver Hammer he'll sell for more gold. Zalnop's able to get his black magic. He's not really that far behind for as many attempts as he made against Garland. The nice thing was he had that cabin safe right outside Temple of Fiends, so every one of those attempts really didn't take much time to get into them.
Yeah, unfortunately at this point I think he'd rather have traded the time spent on those attempts for time walking back to Canaria, because unfortunately I think too much time was spent trying to kill Garland when realistically one could come back. Say if you had to go look for the Crown Mystic Key chests, that's a good time to do it. Or since Warp is early in this game, run in, kill him, grab your loot, and then you can use Warp in the throne room and it'll warp you right back to Temple of Fiends.
So it looks like Ogre is taking down Brilliant's party, but that may have been intentional. It's a very common strategy in this round for people to go with the 2-man strats, the 1 black belt and the red mage.
Yeah, it's pretty common because black belt doesn't have much to offer endgame unless you get them to 32, and there's some difficulty in getting more than 1 black belt past that 32 threshold.
Bane, Brack, Temper, level 5.
Where was that? Was that Temper in the 3rd slot? Because if so, that is a tail-locked spell. You get the top and bottom spells as a level 5 red mage, and then as you get the tail, it opens up access to the other 2 slots.
I believe it was Temper was in the last slot.
Okay, so Temper's fine then. Couple of the big ones that you want to see there is you want to make sure you get Temper or Fast, or preferably both. It depends on how your item drop comes out. But these are things that are going to determine whether or not anybody who finds the tail or anybody who wants to go looking for the tail for a class change, whether or not a spell like Life or Life 2 is locked out or otherwise.
Cure 2, Harm 3 are at level 3. Brilliant is giving us our first look at the shops in Elfland. One of the things you can do in your routing is come to... Cure 4 is at level 4, so is Invis 2. That's pretty stacked on the white magic side. What's on the black magic side?
Not
Nothing
much
to speak of.
That,
Cure 4 is... That's a nice place for Cure 4 to be.
Definitely. That Invis 2 is also what I'm talking about how the Invis 2 is tail locked, where the red mage cannot get access to that slot's spell until he gets the tail for a red wizard.
Very cheap tents, only 9 gold apiece. Maya is doing a dive into the Earth Cave. This has become an increasingly popular play during the course of the league. You can check these treasures on the first floor without much effort, and he's resetting in order to take advantage of the encounter rate. He can either get here with no or only one encounter.
Yeah,
and the white shirt is a pretty decent payoff for this, I think.
Oh, absolutely. That white shirt's going to be, I believe, it's 80 points of evasion for your entire party as a usable, clickable item. That Invis 2 just became sort of useless or less useful in regards to whether or not the tail becomes a necessity.
Well, and depending on the situation, but that frees up all those spell charges for Cure 4, and that can be quite useful.
Yeah, the only other thing you would want to consider is throwing the white shirt on your black belt and then double charging your Invis 2s. That way you stack 180 evasion per round, or 160 evasion per round. Oh, my apologies. Thank you. Meridian points out that it is actually 40 evasion for Invis, not 80. 80 is actually the roof spell. Still, being able to double stack 80 evasion per round is pretty nice.
Yeah, it would basically take 3 rounds of that to be not unhittable, but max evade from nothing. Thing. Yeah, that'd be 3 times that would be 240, so you'd be at or near the evade cap, regardless of your starting stats. So Maya has decided to actually dive deeper into this Earth Cave, which is a very interesting decision without the rod.
Well, he's going to come up on the Earth fight, and so long as the Fade/Fire 3 Earth, kind of goes down quickly, he'll be all right. But he is kind of low on experience, so I think he's actually looking to gain a couple of levels while he's down here.
This could work out, and you can also warp from this room and not have to fight the Earth on the way out if you find him unpleasant.
Maya was level 4. That's very interesting.
Is Brilliant trying to go down to a solo black belt already?
Maybe he's doing a little grinding. One of the downsides to coming out of sea at the time they did, and one of the downsides to not getting that marsh cave dive going, is that you lose out on the levels that you gain come out of there. Many times you'll come out of the pirate fight at level 3, maybe level 4, so maybe this is an attempt to gain a couple of levels before he too takes an Earth Cave dive.
I suppose with Earth Cave it would make sense, but I also don't think Brilliant... Has Brilliant been to Elfland? Was Brilliant the one in Elfland? And I'm forgetting. Yes,
Brilliant was already in Elfland.
So that also cost him money already before he got here, and he might really want to get a spell.
Yeah, and see, the one downside is, like, if you want to grind for Earth, it's probably not necessarily a feasible move. I think if you've got the tools, you just dive Earth and kill everything in there. Grinding for Earth is just going to set it back because there are plenty of better places to grind. You could just run to Crescent Lake and do the EXPs or otherwise.
And Maya did use the warp strategy I was talking about, so he didn't have to fight the Earth a second time. He just discovered that asps have squint, though, so that's quite the discovery.
Actually, I think he just reset that one out. I don't think he found anything in there. Oh.
He's still on the floor, so what I think he did was just warp and go to the previous floor.
No, he went all the... I watched him specifically. He went all the way back to the entrance, but he goes in and he picks up a Thor hammer, so that's going to be a good pickup for him. Now he's got some more AoE action.
You know, this seed is it's trying to tell you that this is a 3-party seed.
It's interesting because I feel like at least it should be entertained as a legitimate strategy. And I know many will be saying, oh, only the 2, or you get 1 to 32, 1 to 21. I know that's your style. I know you like that, Trenton. But I think you are right in this case. I think there's enough AoE to go around that you can kill things a bit more efficiently with 3 AoE party members as opposed to the 2. You can still set up your black belt grind, but setting 3 characters up for endgame might be a plausible strategy here.
Yeah, now don't get me wrong, when I'm saying do it 3-man, I'm not talking about 3 men leveling up equally. I'm still doing the solo black belt grind to the high level, but ideally even I would still like the 42 since we didn't find fast. But
Yeah.
But that said, get it with the black belt out of like Volcano or Ice Cave, and then bring up the second black belt to get you his levels along the game the rest of the way without any dedicated grind.
Yeah, and as Fuchsia points out in chat, Encounter 1 that Brilliant is trying to manipulate is the EXPs fight, as we call them. They're a rich, experience-worthy monster. They're actually kind of palatable on hit points this time. They're very doable and very farmable. I wonder if he's going to be kicking himself for trying to farm over in the upper swamp, realizing how easy this encounter is for him.
Literally the only downside to this fight right now seems to be that how long that first encounter is. When they're like this is where you'd hope for a really quick first encounter.
Yeah, and that was just to shed a little light on my last match yesterday. Encounter 1 and 2 were kind of long, so that early grind is a little more difficult to attain, especially if you're fishing for peas or something. When you have 30 steps or so in your first encounter, and even more than that in your second, it becomes difficult to predict, where your encounters are going to be, whether it's worthwhile to do that sort of farming. And so for me, I left and went to Ice Cave. That was my personal, I didn't feel like I had the tools to beat carry. You could go and defeat if you've got something like a Fade, like our Ray Mages have, you could defeat the wizards no problem. Just go there with a couple of houses, maybe gather some spell levels on the way, and chew through a dungeon like that.
So it looks like Nuke is not going to be available in this seed, even with class change. But with Fade, that's a much easier thing to take.
Yeah, Fade at 2 is, going to be infinitely better than Nuke at 6. It really just depends on what level your Red Mages get to. Exit's also locked for the game, but with Warp's a better utility spell, much more useful in many situations.
Yeah, Exit is going to be more of if you wanted to get out of Ordeals without fighting the zombie dragons, if you want to get out of the mermaid side of the sea shrine. Most other purposes, Warp will take care of it, and as long as you've got enough charges, you're still going to be able to get out of there in 2 or 3 charges.
Maya's back down in Elfland. I wonder if he's going to channel his inner files and head to Castle Ordeals.
I think this was actually his first trip there. I think he came to the Southport, or I don't believe he has the canoe.
Yeah, he was. Oh, that's true. I wonder. I don't know that he's been over in Crescent Lake because he was over in Earth Cave.
Because I gotta figure if he went to Crescent Lake, he would find out about the Peeds, and he'd be doing that right now like Brilliant is. So, yeah.
Instead of channeling his inner files, he is channeling his inner Edgeworth in traveling to Castle Ordeals without the canoe.
And he just realized it. So, there you go. Oh, that's handy. He didn't save since Elfland, so he's able to cut some of this time off.
Yeah, that's good. I don't know. Depending on the encounter table, I may have saved somewhere out in the ocean, but because he couldn't land and save, it at least only to set him back 30 seconds or so.
But now, also that was he may have been setting up the strategy, which is a very valid and powerful one. If you leave your save pack at Elfland and dive Ordeal, if you're able to get all the way through there and find nothing, you can just power cycle, save the entire trip back, and move on a little bit faster.
Yeah, it's interesting because there are only 9 chests in Castle Ordeal, so in terms of even finding the immediate need item, which is the floater, without the crown, there are 91 possible chests, so Castle Ordeal only represents a 10% chance of actually finding the floater in there. Less so if you found the crown at any point. And then even less if you're looking for any of our other Go Mode items in the crown or the slab.
Now, the interesting question seeing Peds like that raises is just how far do you go with it? And looks like for both Brilliant and Zaunop, they've cut out what I would consider a little bit early, gone to Volcano. I mean, mid-teens wouldn't even look that bad with Peds that easy, because you can also take all those spell charges into Volcano.
It's a tough call, because I think I'm looking for the cost of houses, whether or not I've got at least one or two, because if you're going to do the same amount of killing potentially in the Volcano with that level 2 fade and saving yourself one or two maybe warp charges to get out, you might actually get a few of those levels in Volcano, especially with, like I said, like a spell like fade is going to help you in the firefights. I think you'd be all right. Cross that 10 threshold and go, especially as a 2-member party.
Now, this is the other advantage that I said for Ice 3, that situationally it pays off. Waters is the hardest encounter, but the entire Volcano, you're going to be better off having Ice 3 than spells.
We've got a couple of time wasters in these Perilisks casting Heal 2 in their opening move.
The nice thing is they're not killing you. The bad thing is they're eating up a whole bunch of your time. There was a question in chat, by the way, of where the TNT was. It was in Matoya's cave, so we were able to get that nice and early. Maya's now got the canoe. Will he still decide he wants to go to Ordeals?
Are you going to be that stubborn?
I don't think he checked the power cycle here. Because even if you're going to do Ordeals, you would get level 10 and get the warp charges.
Yeah, that's what I would do. At least you gotta check. Because even if you get 2 or 3 peed fights that take a minute and a half of your time, that experience gained early is so valuable, regardless of what dungeon you're going to hit up.
Yeah, especially if he is going to do the save. Actually, I would love to be saved back at Crescent Lake instead of Elfland. And then, if you have all those warp charges, you're going to be able to traverse Ordeal very easily.
The advantage for him going Ordeals is that he does have Fire 3 at 1, so encounters like Zombles, Medusas, he doesn't have to use his Fade charges to get those encounters down. That will save his Warp, which is also sharing a slot with Fade.
So here we go. Maya's coming back with the canoe, going for revenge, but I think he did save this time, so he's all in here.
Yeah, we're going to see if this 10% or less gamble pays off.
It'd be slightly higher now based on the knowledge we have. Of course, you're talking about the blind odds. But having seen the chests we have in Volcano, we know the odds have gone up a little.
And so he takes one to the face from the Zombles. The Zombles just ate his poor little red mage up, and so now he's going back in.
Yeah, we just saw that. We're at 26-23 on Maya's.
Excellent. Okay, so it's good to know how far... I thought I was not as far ahead on that.
And there's the slab just picked up for Zaunop. One of the Go Mode items that you must find from a treasure chest. The ones that they must find are the floater, the slab, the crown, and the TNT. And about 4% of the time, the ruby. Maya's getting an early look at the zombie dragons, so
yes.
He'll know what he's thinking there.
Somebody mentioned, and I think I saw it, there's an early encounter 8 in the table.
So T-Rex. Let's be on the table. T-Rex is one of those rare encounters. He's up there with Wormek. Actually, no, he's ahead of Wormek, isn't he?
Wormek is 7, and T-Rex is 8.
I had to think about that for a second. There's a couple of those group 8s out there, but T-Rex is one of the best experienced monsters in the game.
For those of you who may not know, every zone in the game and then every 64 by 64 square in the overworld has its own encounter table with 8 groups of mobs, 8 groups of monsters that can spawn encounters in them. And so when we say encounter 7 or encounter 8, these tend to represent the more rare encounters that occur throughout the game. It's the encounter 7 in which we're calling for that bless RNG for the Warmech encounter. Normally these encounters are fairly rare, but in the Final Fantasy Randomizer, that encounter table is actually shuffled, so it is certainly possible to get one of those encounter 7s or encounter 8s early in the table. Now, Meridian points out in chat, gas dragons and waterfall. That actually is going to be a thing if people choose to reset outside of the encounter table. That early, we're not going to see the iron goals, but gas dragons and waterfall could be a thing.
Well, I'll never attempt to predict how the encounter table, where you'd end up at the end of Temple of Fiends Revisited. I've never tried to figure that out, but Maya is through the maze of pillars, which didn't mention this yet, but those are actually shuffled, so you can't take the vanilla path. You have to find out which way leads where, but with warp it's much faster, because if you went the wrong way, you can just warp back to the last pillar. So one of the things the dev team is working on right now is, as Brilliant is able to get the slab, they're working on some changes to the encounter tables so that you would see monsters come up in places where they normally wouldn't be, like moving Iron Golem to... Oh my, he's
wow.
just paid off for Maya. He just got the floater.
That's what I'm telling you. It's a 10% risk, but there it is.
Well, everything you decide has to be a risk-reward calculation, so Maya's not going to have the levels out of here. Probably everybody else is going to get their grind done in Volcano, but he's going to have the most important item.
Yeah, Castle Ordeal represents the lowest percentage chance of getting any of those items, especially for what you have to do to get to it. Some players like it because it is kind of easy in many cases. But in this particular case, with the non-incentivized ordeals, it's such a low chance that people would just rather check larger chest pools, Volcano, Ice Cave, even Earth Cave. You may see players digging for a while before they find that floater.
Yeah, so I think what other runners have to hope for at this point is that the crown is in Sea Shrine and it takes Maya a while to get there. If it happens to be in this red dragon chest we haven't seen in Volcano, then Maya's probably going to find it and be in go mode that much faster than anybody else.
Yeah, because I still think, regardless of what you do after the floater, I think you still have to come back to that volcano, and you still have to clear that volcano in its entirety. Unless for some reason you're in go mode beforehand, Volcano's the largest bulk chest location in the southern hemisphere.
It also is well regarded for this Agama spot for being able to grind levels, because you're able to do these with no encounters, so the friendlier they are, it's a safe place to get a whole bunch of experience, which is what makes it so attractive more than the actual amount of experience. But Zalnup has moved on without it. Might be going straight for carry. The black shirt is here in Volcano.
Is this a useful thief round? Because we've got all kinds of usable items today. That is 2 weapons, Thor Hammer, Mage Staff, 3 items, White Shirt, Black Shirt, Zeus Gauntlet.
Crazy Seed, it just keeps on giving.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it to start taking away.
You can give us Dragon Armor and Adamant for the fighter. He'd be doing great right now. Alright, Red Dragon is usually an interesting fight to see how it scales. This one's higher HP than I'd like, so I honestly probably would have run away on round 2. But yeah, he's pushing 300 HP or more. Took Zalnup about 500 damage to kill it, but it could have been the 400 to 500 range, but that's just too much to be useful.
Yeah, and getting to these Agamas, it looks like they hit pretty hard. I don't know if it's going to be a burden on one's health potion pool to do the Agamas right at this stage. depends. You might have to find some items. I would say and come back, but sometimes that's the advantage of not going to Volcano first.
Now, it does also pose the interesting question, are you actually strong enough to kill carry? With no grind, your levels are going to be typically a little low to this stage. So
Yeah, no grind, no fast. I will see, but no grind, no fast is probably a no-go for me. Oh, nope, he does have fast. I did miss that. Okay.
where was fast? Oh, it's level 1. Okay. So, yeah, levels aren't going to be as important for the black belt now. 32 is probably going to be fine, because where you're really worried about that is boss fights, particularly the last 3. And he cast fast on the wrong one, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Scary is hitting hard, though. 281 on an opening salvo. This could get interesting. She goes to sleep next. That could be even a bigger troll. But Fate is able to do the job, so Carrie is down. Boy, Zaunup's got to be happy right now she didn't roll more HP.
Yeah, that's some crazy luck for Zalnop. That's both good and bad. He gets through his volcano clearing, but he still hasn't grinded hardly anything yet, so he has to figure out what to do from here.
Tell you what, Ice Cave is looking really good right now. With Warp, you can... We talk about it normally in terms of skipping the eye fight, and here's our Death Toxic on the river.
So we've seen
both toxics.
This is our second. Yeah, this is our second toxic. So river toxic's not good.
Different toxics. Same name, different skill.
Boy, it looks like he is sort of struggling with this.
Well, if you don't have enough save items, then the manipulation can be tough. Also, they are coming out plentifully. And no ribbons right now, so the magic defense isn't great. But I was going to say, with the warp spell, normally we would use that to skip the eye fight and also the chest that is guarded by the mage in that one treasure room, but you can actually reverse it with warp, run right into the trap, use warp, and then walk up to the eye fight. So if you need the levels, you can actually get them really easily and early in the ice cave.
Yeah, and it depends on how you want to grind, because I think that one's really going to be more supporting for a 2-man grind, because if you do that, you do it with a solo black belt grind, and you haven't checked the chest yet, you may have to do all that chest checking with a solo black belt, and the longer you're in there, the more you're prone to encounters against Frost Giant, Frost Wolf, the unrunnable wizards, which can go up to 7.
Do have Thor's Hammer and Mage Staff, though, so those become less scary. But you're still going to have to take some hits, and at low levels, that can be a lot of hits that hurt a lot. So it looks like Brilliant is going to kind of, if you will, force the issue here against these Agamas, but if you're one-shotting the Agamas, then that's going to work out for you most of the time.
Yeah, it looks like the Agama definitely has less than 250 hit points.
And yeah, from 21 on, Black Belt is usually going to one-shot that.
Ooh, Maya is over here on the T-Rex.
Alright, he found it, although it looks like it might be a little high on the HP side. But very worth it. He'll get multiple levels from this fight. Zaunup has made the right call. He's actually going to Ordeals, so he'll be rewarded. 14, 15. I was right, 2 levels off the T-Rex.
Yeah, and if that 8 is anywhere early in the encounter table, I think he's going to try and force it.
Well, you did the hard reset. First one is the Ankylos. They're 80% shell, 20% space in between the shell. And T-Rex is the second encounter, so...
We might see a grind coming out of Maya here. I know I'm a little ahead of taking a little peek. He's got 30 houses in his inventory. Houses must have been cheap in this game.
I think we saw him in the I think it was a 2 was the first number, 200 range, so pretty friendly. Spells will carry him far enough against these T-Rexes right now.
So here's going to be your ultimate debate, if you will. As we're watching two sort of grinds going on right now between Brilliant and Maya, Brilliant is doing the Agama grind at 1236 for each party member per kill. Maya is getting 3500 per kill, but Brilliant is chewing through them, sort of one-shotting them, while Maya has to force encounter 2 to get the T-Rex. In the long run, do you think there's going to be one that's more valuable over the other?
Well, you know what? We can run an experiment with the time here. That's usually the way to go if you're practicing these runs yourself. It's kind of find out how long it's going to actually take you to do these things. You can do an Agama fight, often something in the 15-second range.
Yeah, so three Agama encounters are going to equal that T-Rex encounter. So can Brilliant do 3 Agama encounters before Maya does a single T-Rex?
I mean, if you want to round it up and call it a minute with the Agamas, just on average in between the resets, then the question is, but from reset, Maya was at 17 seconds. How long is it going to take him to get to the victory against that T-Rex?
Yeah.
So counting from when his timer was at 17 seconds.
One thing Fuchsia points out while you're counting up is that you get to save right after every T-Rex fight. That's a huge advantage that you don't get when you're grinding Agamas.
That is very true. So 44, it took 27 seconds for the T-Rex, so that's about 2 Agamas. So the rate of the T-Rex should actually come out faster.
And you get the benefit of saving. So there we go. And unfortunately, Brilliant either doesn't know, or and obviously, I don't know how many players go, oh yeah, hey, we got an encounter 8, I can go do T-Rexes. I know it would probably have taken me until about the time I'm ready to look for a grind and not at the beginning of the game to realize that. But it definitely looks like it's going to pay off in spades for Maya with very little risk. We're going to see if Brilliant can clear carry to make sure his risk is nullified.
Now, the one trade-off, though, that Maya is giving up is we're talking about how long it's taking him to 2-man. Although that just changed things a little bit because now he can one-shot it with the black belt at 21, so he's able to kill them faster. But now he needs to lose his red mage if he's going to solo grind the black belt. The lava makes that considerably easier in the Volcano.
Yeah, but it looks like Brilliant is giving up at 25 on his dual grind, which I actually like this play. I've done this one myself. You take both to 25, you've got your 6 hit and fast at 1. It definitely looks more likely that you're going to beat Carry. Hopefully, Carry is good to Brilliant this time. But you get 25 in both, and then you just take a bulk number of encounters, Sea Shrine, Skycast, Floating Fortress, what have you, and you try and get both of them to 32.
Question in chat, did he one-shot the T-Rex? Yes, he did. The T-Rex didn't have that many hit points, it's just that Fade isn't necessarily going to do a lot. It's mid-200s is going to be pretty typical out of Fade.
Yeah, the T-Rex, I mean, it takes a good amount of luck because several things had to line up. We had to get a very early encounter 8, we had to get it on a semi-low step count, and the T-Rex had to be grind-friendly.
Yeah, he could have had ugly stats or even an ugly skill that just made him undoable. If he had had Death Touch, then it wouldn't matter that he was early. You just wouldn't be able to survive. Although something gave Maya poison, so that replaces the lava quite nicely. So forget what I said. Things just keep coming up Maya's way so far. But how long will it take him to get the crown?
Yeah, that crown could be anywhere. Maya using a Tyro to take out his red mage and trying to run.
And this Tyro has teeth. He can't survive another hit, but he gets away.
He
We would
definitely
have lost
lucked
too
out
much
at all.
time with the saves, but that could have been unpleasant.
Yeah, I think his whole goal was to just eliminate that red mage to make sure he could start that grind on his black belt.
Tried one-shotting the Anklos, but that not working too well. And the Anklo nearly killed him. So 2,600 experience, they're actually better experience than the Agamas, but by comparison, you could kill the Agamas much faster than the Anklos, so...
Yeah, and that's
There'd
going
be
to
no
come down
contest
to sort of the not guess decision, but certainly Maya hasn't been to the volcano yet, so and that's one of the advantages to finding the floater before even going to the volcano is, can I check out some other spots for grinding? Knowing Encounter 8's on the table, you could go check the T-Rex. Otherwise, you could go down to the Sky Castle, the Mirage Tower area, check for Tyros or whatnot.
So knowing that the Anklos are worth less experience, people might be wondering why Maya decided to go ahead and try and punch it. The reason is because if we one-shot it, it would be faster than running away. So that's what he was doing. Soundup's able to get the floater.
Yeah, just getting right to the blue stake fight is really what he should be focused. If he could one-shot the Tyro, it's good supplemental experience. But if he wanted to save a couple of seconds here and there, just reset that first fight and go right for the Tyro.
Well, what he was going for was the Anklos. It was a question of could he one-shot the Anklos instead of running away, because that would be more reliable than a failed run.
Well, he wouldn't need to run. If Anklos were like Encounter 1, just get the Encounter, then reset out of it.
Yeah, that's what he's doing, but he's trying to save on the reset. It makes sense to check it, but this is one where they're just too tough for that. Level 28 now. So, normally I would say 32 would be my ending point for a grind, because I don't really want to spend too much time, but it's a lot faster to gain these levels than the Agamas, for example, so you can invest the same time you would have on Agamas and get more levels from the T-Rex if that's your thought process, or you can just take advantage of getting the levels you wanted and get out of here that much faster.
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough to justify getting to 42 on the T-Rexes. Just, I know mathematically they're better than Agamas, but Maya doesn't know that, and so Maya's got to think there's got to be somebody grinding on Agamas, and he's got to know that Encounter 2, he's got to feel like it's slightly slower, and so I almost see him moving on at 32. If he feels cheeky, maybe he'll get to 36 and resurrect that red mage and then start killing stuff together so that it pushes him over that 32 threshold.
He can also do 32 here and then solo the Volcano. Because at 32, you probably don't need the red mage.
No, and
now,
definitely
for,
the fast
for a higher
spell
level dungeon, that'd be a different case.
The fast spell at 1 is definitely going to help in the lack of getting to 32, because what you really want is more than 8 hits, and you certainly want more hit points to survive the potential nuclear that's coming. Now, yes, 42 makes things very easy in case you lose your red mage somewhere along the way, but it really just depends on whether or not you're willing to invest the time to do it, because this isn't just a fun thing they play on the side. We're racing here, and so some of these decisions will factor into.
That does also start to bring up a point we haven't talked about, is with no life, there's still a slim chance of being able to learn one of the life spells. It's something like 2 chances in 8 remaining spells. So I guess like a 1 in 4 chance that you're going to get one of the life spells.
It's actually not. Unfortunately, it's not that simple. Because level 8 is completely locked to red mage, red wizard, and there's only 1 spell at 7 they can learn it as the top spell in on-rack. So it's actually
half the odds.
1 in 4. Wait, what did you say? Did you say 1 in 4?
I thought it was 2. I thought he could learn 2 7 red wizard.
I'm pretty sure that he cannot learn any spells in Gaia, and only the top spell of 7 in on-rack.
Okay, so that'd be a 1 in 8 chance then. Well, actually 2 in 8 because there's 2 spells, so
So if
I
you
did my
said
math
1
wrong
and 4,
before.
then you were right.
Yes, I just logicked wrong. I mathed right, and I logicked wrong. Hey, I blame daylight savings time, okay?
That's what it is. We just need to abolish it.
I live in Florida, that might be a thing.
Oh no, I used to live in Florida. It's not a thing.
No, I mean our legislature just voted for that. It could be a
Oh,
thing. Sound Up
yes.
translates to slab.
Back to the real world
Brilliant
here.
is digging Earth Cave now. So Maya is continuing the T-Rex grind, and what I was getting at with the whole math equation is the idea that odds are against getting a life spell now. So that may be a thing that pushes you to a higher level to feel that sense of safety going into Topher.
Oh, definitely. And one of the things you're also not going to get is if you don't have a life spell, you can't resurrect the other 2 black belts to eat a hit on a boss. That can be important in a lot of seeds, a lot of fiend encounters in Temple of Fiends Revisited.
So now Zaunup has found a Tyro, and Tyro is taking his revenge today.
He did just lose a lot of blue brethren in the battlefield today, so he is understandably upset.
Interesting that Zaunup isn't using save strats to get down here faster, so maybe he is intentionally killing the Tyros.
And that's
getting a mini
certainly
grind
possible.
along the way.
That's certainly when it comes to the 2-man grind, you know you do need some levels on your red mage, so it's certainly plausible to take a lot of encounters on the way down.
So I think what we're seeing with Maya suggests he's looking for the 40 range. He is, if he's not going to go to level 40, he's thinking of something close. He's at 39 now.
Yeah, if he's gone this far, he might stop at 40, because he's got to get that red mage up, and he's got to get that red mage some levels.
I think he started 25. I think, which, 2-man strats, that might not be sufficient for Temple of Fiends Revisited. If you're going to bring up more members of the party, that's a very viable level, because you're also going to get more.
Yeah, the other big question is going to be, what is in that on-rack magic shop, and where is the tail if it is useful?
So the whole debate we were having over that life spell is there's 2 life spells available and 1 slot to learn it in, with only 8 total white magic spells remaining, so feel free to math that, folks. Just use caution when mathing live on Twitch, because that can go badly. I've also learned never to try and count while live on Twitch. Run the list first and then count up what it was instead of guessing what the count was beforehand. It'll always backfire on you.
It's very wise.
By getting rid of these caps, the other thing we didn't mention, although it's going to be less of a factor now, is when he was grinding, it was important to not check his armor screen, which is something you may be used to seeing people do during a grind. If you have defensive equipment, you want to check the armor screen to get advantage of but if you have none, you would rather take the level up defense glitch and not check anything.
Yeah, there's a bug where if you check your armor screen, it resets your black belt's armor to what is currently equipped, and then every time you level up, it changes your absorb to your current level. So if you check that armor screen and you don't have anything equipped, it resets it to 0, and so it can be kind of rough on your black belt if you keep checking it. But if you had like an opal bracelet, a pro ring, or otherwise, it can be beneficial to check your armor screen every time you level up, as your equipped absorb will outclass your natural absorb until 41 or so.
Zaunup is about to get the Oxyale from the ferry, just have to actually release her first, trivial details like that. You check the level 7 shop here to see what was available. He's still going to have the chance to check the level 7 at Onrak.
Yeah, so
and Maya has gone to the Volcano, so he's going to get the Slab soon.
Yeah, and he's going to get some levels for some of those black belts along the way. He's going to try and bring all of his party members to Temple of Fiends, it looks like. On the black magic side of that Gaia magic shop, you do get the top of level 7 for black magic. So it's black top in Gaia and white top in Onrak. So he's going to make his way over to the Onrak area. We'll see if he goes Onrak or Waterfall Cave first.
Waterfall first makes a lot of sense. 1, it keeps you from forgetting. 2, if you only need 1 item like we do, it's only 4 treasure chests up here in the Waterfall, but 1 you're required to go to the exact same place anyways, so there's no difference in the investment of time. But if you are in one of those seeds where you happen to get your last go mode item here, then you're able to go mode the Sea Shrine, which is a huge difference. Although with no ribbons, go moding right now would feel a little bad.
Yeah, it's tough to say, oh, if you get the Crown Slab Floater, you've got go mode, because if you're not defensively prepared for the innards of Temple of Fiends Revisited, 1 would suggest that you are not actually in go mode.
I like to determine go mode as nothing required, but other things can certainly be beneficial. So thus everything becomes an intentional decision of, I'm going to go here to look for treasure.
You're going to have to forgive my ignorance on this, but I'm looking at an off-streamer, and his fight command says punch. Is that something that I missed out on to be able to get in my mods? Because normally that says fight. It always says fight, regardless of whether you have a weapon in your hand, right?
Yes. The Vanilla was done that way. People are allowed to do certain mods, like we're seeing with Brilliant, as long as it doesn't affect the actual game. If it affected the actual game, it wouldn't be allowed. But something like sprite changes, that's allowed.
Yeah, this is just a text change. I just thought it was kind of funny in a seed like this to see punch instead of fight.
But a perfectly valid question that needs to be brought up, and these whiz mummies are giving them the business right now by all taking their turn first. Got a light axe, though, I think, so with Fire 3 and light axe, they should all go down in 1 round if you're ever able to take your turn.
Yeah. Whiz mummies are so hot or cold. They either have a lot of hit points and hit like a truck, or they're just terrible mummies.
And everybody say hi to the vampire, and say bye to the vampire. Brilliant has cleared out that fight and is going to the depths of the Earth Cave, which could be huge if this is where Crown is. Or does he not have the airship yet?
He has not been to Castle Ordeals yet.
Okay, well that's a different story altogether. And of course, this is why I said don't count, because I said 4 treasure chests being here, and that's obviously not 4 treasure chests. So a 6 in whatever chance of getting your item here.
Yeah, so we are down to a handful of locations of where the crown could be. The crown itself is a 1 in 196 chance to be at any given treasure chest you could find throughout the game. What we are down to is we are down to the Sea Shrine, the Floating Fortress Mirage Tower, or the one place no one looked, the Marsh Cave.
Very distinct possibility. It makes a lot of sense to not go to the Marsh Cave when you don't have to. Unless you were looking for, say, the slab and you have the key, then it starts to make a lot more sense when you can full clear it.
Sure, and that's something that will be probably the most trolly thing, because it's only 10 chests at this point, and it's a little bit of a pain in the butt to get to all 10. You're better served taking on either Sea Shrine or Floating Fortress, as the monsters will give you more experience for your efforts.
Chat coming to my defense. It was 4 chests and 2 boxes. Okay, I'll buy that. I choose to accept that logic. Alright, White Magic, we are not going to have life. Life is not going to be available this seed.
That is going to produce some very interesting decisions for our runners in regards to what to do about the 2 black belts that are face down in the dirt.
And so Maya, he dropped those other 2 black belts,
Yeah.
or didn't have a choice in it, but
I don't remember what happened, but I think they just got dropped by something because they were level 3 or 8 or something where they just died pretty quickly.
yeah, that could be. But his leveling is done. He doesn't need any more levels on this first black belt. Now, that's not to say they won't help. It's to say you're strong enough with that black belt. He's not your problem at this point. And it's something where even the difference between this and 50 is probably not that significant.
Yeah, actually, definitely the distance between 42 and 50 is pretty insignificant. Yes, you can cap your hit points out, but that 10th hit you get at 42 is really the thing that everybody's looking for. From there, everything is kind of superfluous. That's kind of where the debate is on where most people would stop their grind given the situation. You know, if you've got to level a red mage, let's say you got to level him to 25, you give him a really good shot at surviving a nuclear and give him as many charges as he can work with. Where's a good point to stop for that black belt to ensure that black belt gets to 42 and that red mage gets to 25? Because anything over that, and it could be seen as sort of a time waste.
And Maya's showing off the other big advantage to what he did when stuff is running away from him, and that is just that he is able to clear these dungeons faster because of stuff running away from him with low morale against his high-level black belt. Also, very interesting that all 3 of our featured runners here, none of them went with the Ice Cave. They all, in some fashion, did Volcano and Ordeals. So far that's been the play. But if Crown is in Ice Cave, then that could still be a difference maker.
Well, once again, this player and commentator forgot that Ice Cave existed as a dungeon.
Well, you're not the one who had to find a crown there. See, I told you, don't count on Twitch. Don't count while you're live. It will always bite you.
It always does. There are 16 chests in the Ice Cave, which represents a fairly good chance of finding what you're looking for.
Alright, walking over to the vanilla slab room. And opal bracelet there. So not the required item, but a very, very good one.
Yeah, definitely. That will, and I don't believe he has a very high level black belt. I don't think he did a whole lot of the grinding, so that'll definitely go on one of his black belts, hopefully.
Yeah, only level 24 right now.
He's going to need it to continue on.
Especially if he's even thinking about fighting Kraken, because we often talk about Kraken 2, but Kraken 1 hits plenty hard, and 25 would not feel safe with a black belt.
Yeah, and somewhere between, see, if you step off of carry at 25, somewhere between carry and Kraken, you really should pick up those 7 levels to get to 32.
And we're about to run out of treasure chests here in the mermaid floor. So, opal bracelet was the big prize. We don't necessarily know if anybody else is going to see it. Question, does he have Brack? I don't believe so. Brack was not at a friendly level. It was like at a 5 or something like that, and something else like Cure 4 was on the same level. I may be wrong. I probably am wrong, but I remember it was at a distinctly unfriendly level.
So we've crossed the 1 hour mark, so I figured it's probably a good time to do a recap for anybody who is just joining us. This race has 6 racers in it, with the 3 black belt and a red mage flag set. Stage 5, this is the last chance for romance, so these guys are looking to clear their scores, and if they don't, they are stuck with the score they have. We had an early TNT in Matoya's Cave, so we have not seen the inside of Marsh Cave at all yet. We have the Slab, which was in Volcano. The Floater was in Castle Ordeals, in which Maya went to Castle Ordeals first without the canoe, ran back to Crescent Lake, grabbed his canoe, and then in a stubborn fit decided to go back to Castle Ordeals, in which he was rewarded for that. So now we are just on a hunt for the crown. That is where we stand currently.
So this is an interesting position to be in for Zaunup. The red mage got killed, so he's trying to finish this with just the black belt, which means he has to walk anything out, including that opal bracelet, because you don't want to have to traverse back down there. Well, we're going to find out what the waters are made of, and they've got Blaze and Mute. They're going to be extra fun today.
And it looks like a lot of hit points.
Yeah, that's a decent... Oh my, and slow.
And yep, so
this is bad. If you don't know how to encounter manipulate, now might be a good time to figure it out. See if there's anything you can do to avoid these waters.
Oh,
Temple of Fiends. So because of the mute, he can't even use the spellcasting items. All he can do is punch. This is an unrunnable encounter. He literally can do nothing. And apparently he didn't know that. So no harm trying it, but just not good.
Yeah, with slow, I mean, those hits were almost non-existent.
And I mean, we're talking about encountering 6 of those at a time on the waterfall. So basically what that just told us is Maya is holding the hot hand, right?
Yeah, you gotta find those ribbons, though. With Mute, you gotta find those ribbons, because the last thing I think you want is to melee down the high hit point, slow potential waters on that floor.
Yeah, but even just the chance that they might run away from you, the higher levels has become more important with that on the table, because that is about as nightmare as an encounter can get for being a non-boss. When they have any kind of HP, plus mute, plus slow.
Plus Blaze and Fire 3. So that's some pretty hot water he's in.
Ba-dum-bum. Alright, well, but the other thing is that's important information for Zaunup, who really hadn't done a grind yet. So that can change your game plan of how high you want to go with your levels and how many people you want.
Yeah, that kind of setback's got to be tough for him, though.
Yeah, the stuff that I always try to really take note of along the way is when I know I'm going to see an encounter again at Temple of Fiends Revisited, especially if it is an unrunnable encounter, what skills and spells do they have? And that tells me that gives me a sense of how bad Temple of Fiends Revisited would be.
Yeah, and I think all of our runners who at least have been in... I think it might actually have just been Zaunup to be in the Waterfall Cave. Because I don't think any of them have seen the gas dragons yet, which could very well come up in Temple of Fiends.
Guess what Wizard Sags have? They have Toxic.
That's 3.
Well, it's 2, because it's the 2 different Toxics that we've seen, so it's a double of one of them.
I mean... Are you sure it's Toxic that does that? Because I know Poison has the 2 different abilities.
I could be wrong. Okay. Anyways, Toxic is probably on the Medusa script.
Well, that's fantastic, because that encounter is going to come up a lot. The Wizard Sahag, Red Sahag combo. The Wizard Sahags will also come up on the Waterfall Temple of Fiends. Like 6 of them with Gersharks. Gotta find those ribbons.
And if you don't get that, you get waters. So, like I said, if there's any way you can figure out how to manipulate the encounter table between now and then, now's a good time to learn.
Question in chat, what does alignment neutral mean? It's a particular flag set that we came up with I say we as if I was a part of it. I wasn't a part of it. Maya, you were. But the alignment neutral is sort of a theme. We had alignment chaotic, alignment neutral, and then next week we're going to start our alignment lawful. And it's basically how we group these classes into 3 different groups. Evil was thief black mage, neutral is black belt red mage, and then lawful is knight white mage.
The short answer is it's a nickname for the round. Alright, so Maya is now on his way to Waterfall and Sea Shrine. Zaunup is working his way down to these treasure chests. He could still grind in the Sharknado room, that is a possibility. It's not the best place, but
well, it's gonna occasionally spawn a Wizzahog, because that is 2 Gershark Wizzahog fight. It's not just Gersharks you're gonna get, so there is a little element of risk there.
So he never went back for the Opal Bracelet. That's an interesting decision. He did get his first ribbon we've seen.
Yeah,
but,
he
going back.
Sorry, go ahead.
Not going back for that Opal Bracelet is an interesting choice when you had Warp to get you out.
Yeah. It's tough because he definitely has to feel like he's behind with some of the things that we have seen. I don't think he went Castle Ordeals first. I think, now that he's had a sort of a wipe setback, maybe he's just got to feel like he's got to make up time and just give that up.
I mean, even if that was your thought process before, now you know it's a nasty water floor on Temple of Fiends Revisited. So this is something that can give everybody trouble. So even if you're not an expert on the rates and encounters and things like that, which I'm certainly not, when I see that out of the waters and the sahags, then it's like, okay, time to level up more.
So on the note of that, and I'm really trying not to spoil before we see it, the other thing we hadn't talked about was the Sea Troll Seafood Party Platter combo. That's the other thing that can occur in the water floor. It's the Sea Troll Lobster Sea Snake combo. Those Sea Trolls do have the stone poison.
Yeah, with 1 ribbon now, that's not quite as scary, but we did just get a look at the poison going off, and so... Wow, this is going to be some water floor, folks. Stay tuned.
Yeah, so my apologies to the speed gaming fans here. My restream that allows me to watch and give commentary in real time so that it combines the two to get them to you keeps crashing my computer, and so I'm watching via multi-Twitch, so I'm watching more of a raw stream, which is slightly ahead of what my co-commentator is watching. So again, apologies if I spoil anything sooner than I should. I'm really trying to get that timing right.
Well, we are at the 111 range in 10 seconds. Maya picks up his cube and about to check the treasure chests, and here is 111 now.
So that's a strong 16-second delay.
Alright. So, kind of the story of what we've seen so far is we've seen a lot of ugly skills in a lot of places. Zaunup had a lot of early trouble with Garland, and now that is well behind him. Brilliant is working through the Earth Cave. Maya did grind on T-Rexes against the Overworld, which has given him some high levels. And he's about to do the Sea Shrine. Or not. You know, he could just not do that. That would be an option. Tail pickup for Zaunup.
I want to keep you guys aware of something. I am watching some of the off-stream... Oh my, I'm watching some of the off-streamers just because there are 6 total racers. You may be watching 3 featured streamers, but we actually have 6 total racers in this race. Mirage Tower is going to be fun.
Oh boy.
We've got Maya heading in that direction, so we'll see very soon.
Question in chat. The sprites that Brilliant is using, are they part of the randomizer? They are actually not part of the randomizer. but he applies that to the base game before the randomizers, so you're allowed to do that as long as it doesn't change the actual gameplay. If anyone was found to use anything that would modify the gameplay before the randomizer, they would of course be disqualified, but in terms of just graphic changes like that, they're allowed to do that.
Yes, and that is a ROM hack called Valkyries of Light. One of our speedrunners, Terralyn, who also does the PSP tournament, she has designed a lot of these female sprites in lieu of the male counterparts. So if you go to, I think it's just the ROM hacks or romhacking.com, wherever that primary website is, and look up Valkyries of Light, that is the ROM hack base that they put into the randomizer program in order to generate that particular sprite set.
Anytime you want to know about more about the randomizer, though, please join us in the Discord, and there's more help than you can shake a stick at. And if you don't believe me, come in, try and get help, and see if you can shake a stick at all of it. So these early couple floors are a great place to look for ribbons when you need them, and I like doing Sky Castle when it's a valid option before doing Sea Shrine. This is one where I would have ended up doing that, but I do like the play because of one, I feel like my routing is better for Mirage Tower, Sky Castle.
I think that's a tough call. Because for me, it becomes a matter of, and if you obviously don't know what the dungeons hold, I kind of go on a proximity-based decision. And in fact, the only time I will do Floating Fortress before Sea Shrine is if the bottle is in on-rack. Because if you have to go into on-rack and come out of on-rack, I would go grab the cube, grab the bottle, and do everything on the eastern side of the map. It includes translating your slab, getting your Oxiel, and then getting your chime, and then going to Mirage Tower, Sky Castle. That's the only time I'd really do it first. Though, you get less unrunnables and more experience.
And you pretty much took the words out of my mouth, because that's the same time I will make that play, is when I have to come back to this side of the world anyways because of Bottle, then I'll go ahead and do Sky Castle first because of better experience. Question in chat, have we narrowed down where the crown is to Sky Castle? We absolutely have not, because we still have 2 unchecked dungeons. 2.5, actually. I think. Maybe. Don't count, just list them. So we still have the Sky Castle after Maya finishes off this room. We have the Marsh Cave, which we haven't seen anybody in yet. Never mind, Maya found the crown. We also hadn't seen the Ice Castle, and that's our second ribbon we know for Maya. No, it's his first.
The other one I think was in Sea Shrine, so...
It was a little out of the way, so you might not get it. But he's apparently decided that's enough to be save-worthy before going on. So we hadn't seen Sky Castle before now, we hadn't seen the Ice Cave, we hadn't seen Marsh Cave, and we hadn't seen After the Rod in Earth Cave, I don't think. So Maya has found all of the required items to find. He would still very much like another ribbon.
Absolutely. I think you can make a debatable point on how important Power Gauntlet is, but with Temper at 5 and Fast at 1, he should be fine.
Yeah, now that would also probably rule out the Opal Bracelet for him, with it being on the Mermaid floor. He'll probably just go to the Kraken side. Speaking of the Kraken, Zanop is trying here, but Kraken 1 still hits hard. He is not to be trifled with. And he says to Zanop, that's what you get for trifling with me. So that is a wipe for Zanop, and I wouldn't go back in without more levels. The question is, do you get the levels here, or do you go to Sky Castle instead?
Now that's really tough, because you really should have earned you should hopefully be going into that Kraken fight at 32. Get that 8th hit. With Fast, get up to 16 hits, and you get the, hopefully the levels and hopefully the hit points to potentially survive one of those.
Oxy, I'll pick up for brilliant. And question in chat, what makes the crown required? When you do the entire crown fetch quest, you get the mystic key. When you're in Temple of Fiends Revisited, there is a door after the Phantom, and it is in fact locked by the mystic key. So if you don't have it, you're going to stand there and question every decision about your entire randomizer playthrough career.
I have been there.
I have always found it so fascinating to see the things that they did in these early games, and sometimes they didn't think something was a possibility, so they didn't protect against it, and then other times they clearly knew that sequence breaking was already a thing, so some games put these little hash checks in to make sure you couldn't do it. So for example, in vanilla Final Fantasy 1, if you go all the way over to Crescent Lake early, which you can certainly do once you have the ship, you will not be able to get the canoe if you haven't killed Lich yet.
Yeah, and of course several more were discovered throughout the process of the randomizer, whether or not you could visit Sarda and get the rod after getting the floater, when normally you would need to have gotten the ruby after the vampire and double-dipped Earth. So a lot of sequence breaks discovered in the process of randomizing this game.
And protections against thereof. So we'll see how things go for Maya here. Don't know where he is on the encounter table, but we're about to reach what's commonly referred to as the Bridge of Destiny.
So if we could get some bless RNG spam in the chat for Warmac, it's definitely something I want to see Maya contend with, because he's pretty good in front of the rest of the runners. I want to see if he can be up to the challenge.
Question in chat, can Randomizer randomize which doors are locked by which items? Not really. I mean, indirectly sometimes, because, say the slab might be crown locked, so how you get from one place to another can be randomized. But in terms of which doors in the game are randomly locked by the key, currently that's not a thing, but I don't put anything past the dev team, because they keep finding new ways to crack the code that is Final Fantasy.
Yeah, and see, when players are playing this, they've come to expect a certain sequence. Even if this is an open world game, there's still a pattern, a system to it, and so in some regards, shuffling some of that pattern is not necessarily good for the game, because it requires you to guess or kind of go outside of the realm of skill to complete. It's not to say that the elements of randomization aren't welcome, but when you start messing with some of the key core things, that's when you sort of get away from the nature of the game itself.
Alright, so Tiamat taking 4 hits for only 4 damage. That's not a lot. Not sure which one is his highest level black belt, actually.
It's a shell game.
1,000 damage.
It's really just a big shell game. If you don't know which one it is, Tiamat doesn't know which one it is either.
Yeah, fair enough. Plus, also, I had the rendo reduced, so I couldn't see their hit point numbers. That's kind of a big giveaway. Hey, the guards have poison, so... Wait. Oh, I think that means poison's on the Medusa script. I'm all confused now. That was the gas dragon poison that the guards just used, which I thought we'd already seen. Or no, we saw the status poison. That's the second poison. Okay, I'll be alright. Pretty sure Toxic's on the Medusa script today, which means 3 encounters have it.
Yes, and one of those encounters we're going to see going forward on that Wizard Sahag.
There's the crown for Zaln up, and oh my goodness, it was Estos all along. What is with these low-level black belts hitting Estos before the high-level one? I have no idea why that's a thing.
They're making up for the inactivity they've had all game.
Question from Zar: did we ever find Nuke? We haven't found Nuke yet. Didn't see Warmac. There's So there are two nukes in the game. One is a non-boss nuke, which can be anything other than the 4 Fiends, Chaos, and Warmac. Then those 5 or 6, don't count on Twitch, those 6 have their own pool, and there is a nuke in that pool. So there's always a chance you're going to see nuke. And Maya is... Did he talk to the prince?
He did. He's opting to...
Okay. He worked out. I just wasn't sure he talked to the prince. I thought he was still pointing at the intendant.
I think he's going around looking for a second ribbon.
You know, the crown chests are an easy way to check a lot of chests and take a stab at it.
Definitely, because he'll have 24 potentially open to him if he checks Temple of Fiends. 21 if he doesn't. We know one of the ribbons is in Sea Shrine, so it's going to be kind of a crapshoot where this last one is.
Yeah, but if it's not crown locked, then that would leave Marsh Cave and Ice Cave, so possibly the lower parts of Earth. But I think statistically it's... I don't know the numbers on it, but I think it's pretty close to a push. Gold bracelet, that's a welcome sight. There's also the chance of finding Power Gauntlet, and there we go, that's the third ribbon. Second one for Maya.
Sometimes all you need's 2.
So one for the high-level black belt and one for the red mage is going to be very welcome. I don't think he'll want a third one enough that he's going to explore the Sea Shrine to find it.
No, but does he want a third one enough that he would search other crown chests for it?
Well, I think when you consider the available pool, because you're not only talking about one ribbon still being out there for him, you're talking about the Opal Gauntlet still being out, Opal Bracelet and Power Gauntlet still being out there for them. He's got White Shirt and honorable mention Defense Sword, but let's say that's 4 items. So 4 items between 6 to 8 treasure chests, depending on how many he checks. That's a fair number to look for something in that pool.
Sure.
These nachos are not playing nice, by the way, with the Lit 3.
So we see Brilliant is up here discovering the Tyro or the T-Rex grind.
Got his full party up still, so not getting the big experience, but he did the Nagama grind, didn't he? I'm not positive on that, but I think he did an Nagama grind. Yeah, Chris is a much higher level.
So while we have a small break in the action, I just want to let you guys know, if you guys enjoy the action that you are seeing here, and you haven't already, feel free to give Speed Gaming and its auxiliary channels a follow. If you like what you see from your runners, also feel free to give your runners a follow. We do a lot of this Final Fantasy Randomizer content, as well as plenty of other things going around. So if you like the retro, old school with a twist, give these runners a follow as well.
Yeah, our community, there's a lot of crossover interest in randomizers, but we've got a very active Final Fantasy 1 randomizer, including my co-commentators for Sando. I don't race it too much, I do more casual runs.
I've been getting into some things that are coming down the pipe. Many of you know of our NPC shuffle that is coming up. That's going to hopefully be released sometime in April or May. I don't have an exact date, but it's something that we've been playing as part of the beta. And then for the last couple of days ago, I was able to participate in an alpha of a game mode that I won't necessarily reveal until one of the devs does, but it's going to be some interesting stuff coming down the channel for the next couple of months.
But anytime you want to know more about what's going on with the Final Fantasy Randomizer, the best thing to do is join us in the Discord, and you can keep up to date with everything as it becomes available, including when the next race is.
Yeah, and what you will also see in the Discord is the launch of our spring, what I will call spring-summer tournament, because it starts at the end of May, but our spring tournament is coming around, and so signups are going to be going out for that soon as we get in touch and sort of figure out what format we want to use. We're looking at least going with one-on-one competitions as opposed to the sort of league race format that we've got going on here. So the tournament is something I'm certainly excited for. Sort of a change of pace from the league, certainly, but definitely a chance to get more Final Fantasy Randomizer out there. If you are new or otherwise, feel free to jump on that Discord. And if you really feel like you want to give it a shot, feel free to jump into the tournament. The worst thing that could happen is you have a good time.
And you can absolutely have your voice heard. So if you'd like to join and favor a particular set of flags or style of doing things, you can have your voice heard on that still at this point. So you can get into the very ground floor of this one. Brilliant is continuing the T-Rex grinds. Zalnop was able to get past Tiamat, so Air Orb restored. This just has felt like a hard one for Zalnop to get any momentum. It started early with Garland.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I think just without building some of that momentum, but building some of those levels, unfortunately, the sort of stutter stepping, if you will, has caused him to be a little deficient in certain places.
But having the key, he's going to be able to get a ribbon, we know as well, which should give him access to 2. At least 2. If not, he'd probably be the only runner able to get all 3 because he knows where the one is in the Sea Shrine.
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head where that other one was.
It had to be in Mirage Sky somewhere.
He might already have it if he has picked it up, if it hasn't been in Sky. But we know the crown was in Mirage, so Maya, I think, skipped out on most of Sky. So that second ribbon, I think, has to be in Mirage, and I think Zalnop has to already have it.
So the 2 we're certain of is one's in Sea Shrine on the path to Kraken, little off the beaten path, but on one of those floors, and the other was in the Dwarf Cave. Maya's able to get the Earth Orb quite easily. That's what happens when you're about 20 levels higher than intended for fighting Lich.
Yep, you just come in, you plow over, and you move on.
And now Maya is going to head into Sea Shrine. There's still some treasure he would want, but it's a question of how much time is he willing to invest into looking for it. And he didn't do too much in Sky Castle, so I can't imagine he's going to do too much here.
Realistically, when you're in Go mode, there's only about 5 chests that you'll check throughout this entire dungeon. So if it's not in basically the 2 free chests you will walk right across, or the 3 chests in the Sharknado room, then he's not going to find any of the things that are going to help him out along the way.
So now with the key, Zalnop is in fact in Go mode, and just needs to actually be able to beat the Fiends. But unfortunately, behind Maya in the orb count right now because he wasn't able to complete things against Kraken when he was there. But coming down here to Lich makes a lot of sense. He's going to be able to do that. The unfortunate thing is, Maya is able to pick up experience along the way for his people, for those other 2 people, which is going to be an advantage. I mean, there is no disadvantage at this point to having them up. The only way they would be a disadvantage is if they were blocking the main black belt from getting to 42. Since that hurdle is crossed, there is no downside.
Yeah, about the only thing you could even remotely suggest is you're siphoning levels away from your red mage, which at 388 hit points, that's very close to being able to survive 1 nuke. So you'll debate whether or not.
And you're talking about a max roll nuke. So
yes.
the odds
21
of-
to 25 gets you a better than not chance to survive it.
But also, his levels are probably going to be higher than most people would go into there normally. So he was 25 when he stopped grinding the red mage. He's probably going to be close to 30 by the time he's into those later fiend fights. So yeah, the ribbon was here right next to the crown, as Brilliant just picked both up. So Soundup's the only one I can imagine getting all 3 ribbons. How much does it matter? A little bit, not a ton. 2 is important. 3, useful. I mean, you can keep alive the person that has the white shirt, perhaps. This is going to be an interesting fight to me. Brilliant going up against the blue dragon, and that might have been one of the places where Zaunup woulda, coulda, shoulda forced the issue and gotten levels, but I'm not sure how hard this is. Never mind, it was too high hit points. Maybe.
Yeah, in a last chance
Borderline.
game, there's a last chance place for a grind, and it would be that blue dragon. Other than that, you're looking at maybe fishing for the gas dragon fights in Temple of Fiends or otherwise.
Well, with Warp, you could do first floor Temple of Fiends Revisited, but that doesn't help you with Kraken 1. You can also just do casual, if you will, walkarounds on these floors of the Sky Castle because there's a chance to encounter eyes. So you get pretty good experience on these floors at pretty low risk.
Yeah,
the Green run into a nasty skill.
Yeah, the Green Medusas are also good in experience.
And I mean, like, one of your worst experience encounters here is the Grey Naga and the air, and even that is worth more than an Agama.
I made a mention earlier that somebody asked what the crown was for, that the Mystic Key door was locked. One of our off-stream runners just discovered that.
Are they in Temple of Fiends?
Not anymore.
Okay. I didn't realize we had anybody that far along.
I'm trying to keep the action on the 3 here, but like I said, this is a 6-player race, and so there are off-stream runners at various stages.
Alright, so that's gonna force you to go do the quest. Now, one of the reasons that people might be out of that habit is we've actually had a couple stages where the crown was not required. For various reasons, the goals were set earlier than having to beat Chaos.
Yeah, last round with our 3 Black Mage Thief combo, it was just to defeat Phantom, and then in week 3, it was the Opal Bracelet treasure hunt, the pretty black belt flag set. And so, yeah, it's actually been about a month or so before we had some Kill Chaos goals.
So just sometimes when you're out of practice, you can't remember everything. I've had that feeling on other randomizers I've been playing in the last week. It's like, oh, you think you know the game? Try it on a randomizer, then you find out how little you know. Oh, and Nachos had Thunder too. They're just all kinds of special. They have Thunder, they have Lit 3.
Yeah, and Brilliant's making his way towards the Bridge of Destiny. We'll see how many of those he encounters and how that handles him. It looks like his black belts are pretty good along for individuals.
And Maya has now successfully done all 4 orbs. He does have the Mystic Key, so when he goes into Temple of Fiends Revisited, it's for all the marbles.
And go ahead.
I was just going to say, unfortunately for Zaunup, just the lack of ability to get momentum, and it really was expressed to me when he went into that Kraken fight. He invested the time and did all the work to be further along than he is, but still having to go back to that Kraken, and I'm still not sure his levels are good enough.
Yeah, it's just a real shame because I've been in that boat. Sometimes your game you just can't quite get going. That you kind of come off the rails a little early, and perhaps it affects your decision making later on because maybe you feel like you're behind, and so I have to take this risk and that risk, and unfortunately, sometimes those risks can just compound themselves, and your run is just you just have the run that you see. I've been in that boat many times.
But that said, nobody's not done yet, so you're still in it. It's just whatever you do from here, make sure you're giving yourself a chance.
For those of you who don't know, the scoring system that we use for this league is a percentage compounded upon the winner, and then for whatever race you do in a particular stage, the best percentage time finished behind the leader is what goes on there for your score. So if somebody finishes at, say, the 2-hour mark, then that would be 120 minutes. 1% of that is 1.2 minutes, or 1 minute and 12 seconds. So if you finish 1 minute and 12 seconds after the leader, you would get a 0.01 as your score. Of course, the goal is to win. You get a 0.00, but the scores are then compounded based on the percentages above the winner that you finish, with your best score going on the scoreboard. And so depending on where the finisher ends up will decide some of the fates of these runners, especially in this last chance run where 5 of our 6 runners have not notched a win in this flag set.
Very interesting that Maya went ahead and took that fight. It is a runnable encounter. You're able to get away from the zombie dragons when they're with the vampires. Not when the zombie dragons are by themselves, however, so this one's unrunnable. But he took advantage of that fight, knowing it was a huge punch of experience. So remember, the solo grind at Agamas was for like 1,400, 1,600 experience, something in that range. And he got 3,000 experience for everybody, which the equivalent in Agamas, it would be 12,000 for one party member. So, like 8 times as much experience.
Hey, Deathwish88 with the 15 bits. Much appreciated. Thank you for supporting Speed Gaming.
And this is a good time to say thank you to Speed Gaming for hosting the tournament. The league, even. They're a great partner for the tournament, too.
Yeah,
but they've been great friends to the Final Fantasy Randomizer, so chat, how about a round of thank you, Feasels?
Yes, thanks to Feasel for putting this all together. Thanks to Dude for Dude. Man, I struggle with his name. For tracking this show, and certainly thanks to Speed Gaming for hosting us this afternoon.
How about that? The Sharknado room had Masamune all along. I don't think I saw that last time.
Was it behind the trap tile?
No. It was the top left one. And the Frost Dragons have lit 3. That's the second thing to have lit 3.
Oh. Gotta wait 16 seconds.
The Nachos had it, and those. And now Zara throwing some bits into the equation.
So those Germadeuses ain't playing around.
Let's see here. We just got another encounter with them, but he ran away from that. Did they hit particularly hard?
The one before him, I think they had, dare I say toxic, because that would be 4, but I swear it was something like toxic.
Okay, a lot going on. I didn't know which one to watch.
Yeah, that was on Maya's channel.
Right, Maya is about to get to Lich here. If the Earths will let him get by, these are an unrunnable encounter. He tried to punch each one individually. I don't think his other black belts are going to be strong enough to do that just yet.
It's simple, Sarah. Picking me up in check. Thank you. It was toxic. That's 4 toxics we have seen. I swear to you, it was the Wizard Sahags, the Green Medusas, and what else?
Wasn't it Garland?
It was. Yeah, it was Garland, wasn't it?
Yeah, and he's on the non-boss, so it was definitely on the Medusa script, and then.
But there was one more.
Creatures have it in the base game.
I'm thinking it has to be on 2 creatures. The gas dragons are
Gas dragons
poison
are poison.
stone. Is it Iron Goal? Is Iron Goal toxic?
I think that's the status poison. Question again about the sprites. Brilliant is using a custom base before applying the randomizer to it, which is allowed as long as it is only a graphical change. If there was anything in the gameplay change, it would not be allowed. But for more information on that, please join us in the Discord, and you can get a lot of answers on that. Zanop is trying again against the Slitch fight. Didn't get to see if Lich was able to do anything, because I was looking at other stuff at the time. But I touched on this earlier. The 4 Fiends, Chaos, and Warmech all share an ability pool. The abilities, the spells, all that is shuffled between themselves. So they're not going to have Death Touch, for example, because that's not in their pool. But that means there's a nuke in the pool, Crack is in the pool, Swirl is in the pool, 4 nuclears are in the pool. That there's a lot of nastiness that's available.
Actually, I feel like I need to correct you. Actually, I'm pretty sure Death Touch is actually not... It's not part of the pool, but it still can be randomly shuffled, because I'm fairly certain I have seen a Death Touching Fiend before. Like, in the Temple of Fiends. Whether it was Chaos or somebody, I'm fairly confident I have seen Death Touch from a Fiend.
Well, I can be wrong. It's happened before. Zanop is able to get by this Kraken. He's got the Waterfall. Now he's that much closer to being able to finish.
And we got some early waters on Maya again. Forgive me if I'm a little ahead of you guys.
Yeah, we just saw him get into that encounter. We're at 44-25. Maya has Fade for them. I don't know if he has Ice 3. That'll actually work better, but Blaze is going to hurt. And if his Black Belts survive, he's going to be able to heal them no problem, but there's no way to revive them if they go down. Oh, but here comes the mute.
Oh, and I think that Black Shirt was on one of the ancillary Black Belts.
Now, with the ribbons and the levels, he's got the magic defense, so he's able to do that for resist against the effectiveness of mute, and he is able to get Fade out, so 2 charges. Here comes the slow. And we have our first winner, as Brilliant finds out it was Azta so long. Rodster is our first place finisher. He completes this in a time of 1:45.32.
We're going to try and get him in here for an interview for postgame.
Alright, about to get our look at Kraken 2, and this is where you might offer up that 4th Black Belt as a sacrificial lamb. And what I mean by that is the one that has the shirts is, to me, the 3rd Black Belt. And the one with nothing is the 4th. Well, it looks like he has the white shirt on the red mage anyways. And that was a low HP Kraken too, so quickly by it is Maya.
Yeah, but now he's come across the, he hasn't quite make it out.
Gersharks and Wizzahags now. This is a runnable encounter, but he's not able to, and Toxic just took out Pow.
Right in the kisser.
One of these days. And the unrunnable worms, just for good measure. He has seen a lot of these. So Maya still has the chance to finish in a very reasonably close time. We're talking at 2:05 minute mark. So still very close.
Yeah, it really is going to depend on how, but that will not be for second place. Our second place finisher, Zarnax, has come in at an official SRL time of 1:47.21. that has drawn our first forfeit of the race. Len the Cat has opted out. He already has his win, so I'm sure whatever he is struggling through right now, it is not worth it for him to continue.
Yeah, I mean, if for Zarnex, that was close enough. I'm almost positive he has a 0 for that. I haven't mathed that.
Unfortunately, if you remember not to count on Twitch, maybe not doing math on Twitch is a good idea either. But when I mentioned that on 2 hours, that 1 minute and 12 seconds, it wasn't 100% true. Actually, it would be at the 0.05, in which we round up. And so 0.05 being the point, I think that is, or not 0.05, I'm sorry, 0.005. Really small numbers here. That is a nearly 2-minute finish above the winner. I think that might be good for at least a 0.01.
You might be right.
So we are now joined in the channel by Brat. Brat, GG.
Thanks.
So how about those waters?
The ghosts were just as bad, if not worse. I wiped, I think, 3 times in water. In the temple? Yeah, 3 times.
Oh, okay.
Like, deep into it.
There was a lot of stuff there. The trolls had toxic, I think. Everything seemed to have toxic in this seed.
The trolls had, yeah, I think it was toxic. They stoned my red mage a few times. That was the worst part. Like, the Temple of Fiends was fine, except I only found 1 ribbon, and it was on my black belt, and Frost Dragons had lit 3. So when I encountered, I think it was a group of 3 of them, in Temple of Fiends Revisited, I wiped very quickly against them.
And there is a GG for Maya. He's the featured runners to finish at 149. He did a T-Rex grind on the overworld, so I was curious how much the levels would pay off. There was some unpleasantness in this Temple of Fiends, but even for all the unrunnables we saw, it didn't seem that bad.
Yeah, the second time I went through Temple of Fiends, I put the ribbon on the red mage, and Frost Dragons were fine after that. But we did like 30, I think, to my red mage. But without the ribbon, it was like 180.
Yeah, I think we counted 4 things in this seed had toxic.
Yeah, Garland himself, and then
Yep.
a green Medusa.
Yep.
Sea trolls.
Yep.
And there was at least one other. We knew the waters had mute, slow, blaze.
Fire 3.
I knew the waters had mute. That's all I saw from them.
They could have done much worse, but we didn't seem to encounter them on the water floor. I don't think we've seen them yet. Or no, wait, Maya did, but he was able to resist the mute.
So, funny story in the seed. When I was looting the top floor of Volcano, my red mage died against the forest firefight. So I barely got out alive, and then made the decision to just try and use the favorable step counter to try to get to Agamas, just with my black belt. And lucky for me, Agamas were super... I shouldn't say they're super nice, but they were, for the most part, easy to handle. I think one every 5 or 6 fights they'd cast a blizzard, so that hurt a bit, but it was manageable.
And then we didn't really see anything out of the Fiends. That Kraken 2 just had no hit points, so we get to see if they had anything nasty.
Lich had nuclear.
Okay. 4 of them out there, so... what was your actual path through this seed? Like, did you do Volcano first?
Yeah, I did Volcano first. There was no progression items there except Slab, I believe, so nothing to dictate where I should go. I actually didn't go to Elfland in the first run through, so because I had Warp, I decided I could go hit Elfland, get the magic there or whatever I needed, and then go to Ordeals. And then the plan after that was to hit Marsh, but Floater was in Ordeals, so I didn't have to go to Marsh. And then I went straight to went to the Waterfall cave after that, obviously getting all the treasures on the way, and then I went to Air after that and found Crown. And then just, I think there was a ribbon with the crown as well, so after that I just kind of stopped looking at chests for the most part.
Yeah,
So-
just in case you had a burning curiosity, that was one ribbon. Maya found a second one in the dwarf treasury, and the third one was in one of the far-off treasure chests if you're going down the Kraken side of
Yes.
Sea Shrine.
And speaking of
Okay.
Maya, we are joined by Maya in our channel. Maya, good for third. GG, how do you feel about that?
I'm very happy, and I'm kind of surprised that I got third with all the mistakes I made. So, pretty pleased with how it went. It was a lot of fun. Anytime you get to grind on T-Rexes, that's a good day.
You found
Oh,
that out pretty early, in fact.
Yeah, I noticed it right away when I went into Temple of Fiends the first time. I was like, oh, it's Gur-Imps and Werewolves. That would be Group 8, and that's second off of a power cycle. So, guess what I'm going to do later?
I wish I knew things like that.
Well, Maya, let's talk about the trip to Ordeal.
Oh,
Whichever trip you'd like.
Do we have
So-
to?
We are joined in the channel by Edgeworth. It could be Maya. So, yeah, let's talk about that ordeal.
I was so excited. Look, the seed was screaming at you to go to Ordeals. You had lit 3 in the level 1 magic, and then I found both the Zeus Gauntlet and the Thor's Hammer. And I was like, wow, if there's ever a time to go to Ordeals first, this is it. And so I sailed there and then realized that I actually hadn't gotten the canoe yet. So the second attempt was much more successful.
It's really funny because when you did your pathing, you went to the underside of Elfland, I think, and then went straight down. And when you discovered it, you're like, oh, I'm going back. And so you went back to Crescent Lake. And I mean, you had larger potential options, even if you want to do Ice Cave first or something like that. But you stubbornly went right back to Ordeals.
Yeah, that's where I wanted to go. I was much better set up to go there than I was to go to the volcano early. So you had Warp, and so if this is not the seed to go to Ordeals first, I don't know which one is.
One other question, Maya. Did you check the power cycle for Crescent Lake area?
No, I didn't. Not at all.
Pete's were number 2 there, by the way.
Oh, that's fine.
First one. The first fight.
Okay.
I didn't need
Yeah.
to, though, because, I knew I wanted to go back to Ordeals, and so I didn't stick around Crescent Lake long enough to really find out what was there. And when I got to Ordeals, I found the floater, and so that opened up my grind spot.
And Zarnex, GG to you on the second place.
Thank you.
How you feeling after that one?
Mostly good. I'm a little beating myself up a little because I should have won it. I made 2 mistakes that cost me the win. I got beat Phantom and then realized that I hadn't turned the crown into the key. And then I also, after I beat Tiamat 2, I accidentally cast Warp, so I had to go through that floor again.
I wondered. I was watching your stream off. On the side, and I saw you were on the stair tile, and I wasn't sure why.
Yeah, that was it.
5-pack of waters here for Brilliant. That's this could be interesting.
Yeah.
Waters,
Go
well-
ahead.
I was gonna say they weren't terrible because they cast Mute, and I think they did something else that wasn't very problematic. They also, if you had a high level black belt, would run away pretty easily.
Yeah,
Well, they also had slow and blaze, so
Oh, that's
they
less
can do
good.
a lot.
Yeah.
But with these levels now, it's a lot better than they were the Sea Shrine.
yeah. Unfortunately, the distance between first and second is 1 minute and 49 seconds. So that crown setback had to be very unfortunate.
Yeah. I think it'll give me a .01 instead of a nice 0. But man, other than that, I mean, the seed went really, really well. Because we had warp and decent attack spells, I went to Ordeal as soon as I got the canoe. And then after finding the slab, I figured that there were so many chests. Like I generally, if I can go to Sky before Sea Shrine, I like to do that because I feel like there are more chests, and you don't need to deal with unrunnable battles nearly as much. And so that both of those, I mean, paid off big time.
And Brilliant has lost 2 of his black belts against... and they were 25 and 26, so that was non-trivial damage from Waters. Maya, you were probably set up the best for a difficult Temple of Fiends Revisited. Well, let me ask you it this way. What was your decision to go, first of all, that high level with the solo black belt, and then bring the others up?
I think I ended up going up to about 37 or 38 before I stopped the T-Rex grind. First off, just because it's so easy. I mean, you spend a couple more minutes and you're basically getting a level of T-Rex, especially with the Ankylo beforehand if you could kill it off. And then once that was done, I knew I could bring the other 2 black belts up, and then I wanted to do Sky Castle first and have both of those weaker black belts up because they could pick up levels real fast as I ran through the dungeon. And I think they ended up at about level 22 or 23 by the time I was done too. So there wasn't a whole lot I was terribly frightened of in Temple of Fiends Revisited.
For Brat and Dude and Zarnex, not getting to see your streams, were you running 2-man parties, 3-mans? What was your...
Yeah. I think both my black belts that I killed off were level 1.
Oh wow! I think I let one die. Yeah, the first one that died, I never revived, and then I think I kept the other one until I got to the Agama grind in the Volcano, and then after that, from that point on, I was a red mage and a black belt.
Yeah,
Interesting play from Zalnop. He decided to kind of make a grind out of that first dive, and he warped out, saved the levels he got, and now he's going back in.
Who's that?
That was Zalnop.
Okay, that's what I did actually as well. For the Agama grind, because I was worried about running out of heal potions. I got to, I think, level 21 for both my black belt and my red mage, then warped out because I had the floater at that point, so it was really easy to get back, restock my heal potions, and then just dive right back down to the Agamas, then let my red mage die off and level up the black belt without
Question
needing...
in chat is why use only the 2 party members instead of 4? The experience you get from a fight is divided by the number of party members that are alive at the end of it, so by doing it to just 1 or 2 members, they're able to follow more experience and get more levels to those people.
In addition to that, the black belts are, I'm not going to say useless, but they really shine at 32, and so it's difficult to get more than 1 black belt to that threshold.
If unless I missed my guess, I think Brilliant got very lucky here. The encounter before the one that he hit was Tiamat was the Group 8 encounter. But I only think the Iron Galls are on the right side, not the... Well, I'm not sure about that now.
I'm pretty sure the Iron Galls are only in that section after Tiamat.
I don't think so. I have to go back and look, but I'm pretty sure it's just that each floor is coded, that there's not separate zones within each floor. Or that floor, I should say.
I don't know. The only thing I remember is the very first playthrough I had, I got them right at the staircase, and so I always... I instantly thought that was just a trap tile fight. And chat saying they're in the whole floor. So down to just the black belt here against Chaos, but that's all you need. Maybe a little lower.
This is not
Black belt.
trivial. Chaos has Cure 4 on him.
And he has a ton of hit points.
Yes, he does.
And there is the Cure 4.
That hurts. That is unfortunately hurtful.
We've seen one nuke. Now we've seen Swirl. I'm sorry, not nuke. We heard of one nuclear. So there's still the potential for more out there, and that is unfortunately a white chaos.
Yeah, I think he has around 5,000 hit points, maybe. It's hard for me to gauge because my last hit on him was like 2,200 or something. But I hit him for, I think, between 25 and 3,000 probably before the final hit, so
Yeah,
I guess. Does anybody else have an idea of roughly how many hit points Chaos has?
The max on these flags would be 4,400.
Okay, well then he was pretty close to max then.
He was well over 3,000. I know that.
Sound up continuing the dive here, just the two party members. He takes the Agama fight, which it makes sense to take anything you can one-shot because it's just going to be more levels for the black belt, which is not going to hurt.
Yeah, the shame of not having life or life 2 really prohibits you from having those meat shields to just resurrect at your leisure.
Oh, there's the lit 3 I was talking about.
Anybody find Masamune or Power Gauntlet?
Nope.
Asamian was Sharknado Realm. Never
You
saw
said you
Power
found.
Gauntlet.
You said you found Thorhammer.
Yeah, Thorhammer was in, let's see, Zeus Gauntlet was in Earth, and so then I found Thorhammer in, maybe Titans? No, that wouldn't make sense.
I found Zeus Gauntlet. I didn't look in Earth, so maybe.
Maybe Thor was in Earth?
Oh, you know what? I bet they both were in Earth because I warped out after checking the top side of level 2 Earth. I bet that's where Thor's hammer was.
Yeah, I found Zeus. I can't remember where I found Zeus Gauntlet, but you did say that you found Thorhammer early, so that makes sense that it was in Earth. Because I checked everywhere. I checked everywhere except there.
Yeah, I checked Earth 1 and 2 before I headed to Ordeals the first time and then the second time.
I want to say Zeus Gauntlet was in Temple of Fiends.
I think Matoya's actually. It was
Oh,
a
that
load
was
of Matoya's.
I remember getting
Yeah,
really.
it is. Yep, it was.
Had that, had TNT and Procape.
It was
something
two.
to that effect. It was a very loaded.
I found both Procapes very quickly. The other one was in Volcano, like in the deep dive. Same floor as the Agamas.
Here goes Zan up against these waters. Already taken one blaze, but he's got 2 of them down. 3 of them down. Okay. Nice for him, he didn't face the full pack of them, though. But he gets it again.
Didn't anybody go to Ice Cave?
I don't think anybody at all went to Ice Cave.
I know Len did off stream, and so he'd been running into these Glance super happy frost dragons.
Didn't they have something else too?
Like Let 3 for the Frost Dragons.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Brat, you finally cleared your point in the last chance for Romance race. So, how do you feel about the next stage, Alignment Lawful Fighter 3 White Mage flags coming up?
To be honest, I have no idea. had no idea what the flags were until you just told me. I'm pretty much that guy who 5 minutes before the first time he races a stage looks at the seed or the flags.
Oh my, this is a lot of waters for Zalnop. So he's on a different encounter table than we've seen other people be at. Not different table, but different place in the table.
Alrighty, guys, I'm going to go ahead and hop off. Thanks, commentators, and thanks to the tracker, and thanks to everybody who watched.
And thank you,
Maya.
Sweet Gaming.
Yeah,
I'm going to do the same, but if someone wants to post the link to the Discord in the chat, that'd be great. Like I say almost every time I race, and if anyone is interested in learning about the randomizer or wants to try a race for the first time, there's lots of people in the Discord that are willing to help set you up, explain how to do it, and just overall any advice. Very friendly community. Thanks to the commentators and the tracker. Thanks to Speed Gaming and Fiesel for doing this. But yeah,
I can
have a
say
good
all
night,
this.
guys.
I'm out as well, but GG, Brat. Congrats on the win.
Thanks, man. It was close.
Yeah. Have a good night, everybody.
So while we were talking about plugging the Discord, everybody go ahead and jump on it. It's right there in the chat. Get in the discussion for our Final Fantasy Randomizer Spring Tournament. That is coming. If you have any interest in the game whatsoever, feel free to jump in. We're racing all the time. We're giving out hints and helpful tips and all that jazz. And feel free to sign up for that tournament because, like I said, the worst thing that you have is you have a good time and you grow with the community, and we just make this a bigger and better place.
Alright, Zalnop is up to Chaos for the first time. Got that fast off. About 1,000 damage in so far. Not doing anything with the Invis 2, though.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's gonna chew him up.
Oh, Zap worked! Chaos was spamming the Zap against everybody, but for the first time it works and it takes out his black belt.
Is that Zap through ribbon? He's got 2 ribbons, right?
I don't know. I don't know if he got a second one. I think he did because he went back to Dwarf Cave.
Yes, he has the Sea Shrine ribbon, and he probably, if he got the crown, he I think should have gotten the Mirage Tower ribbon.
Good point. So I think he should have the 2. Wow, and he just faced the Cure 4, so that's behind him, but I don't know how this little red mage is going to do enough damage. And there's no Bane, there's no Brack, there's no any bail you out spell here. So we might find out how deep the spell pool goes for this Chaos. And there are still nuclears on the table here. But it won't matter. Chaos hits too hard.
I have not seen it yet, but it would not surprise me if Zalnop were to bow out gracefully from this match because he's already got a .13 for this round, and I'm pretty sure if we have not made it there yet, we are very close to that.
Yeah, it could become this question of it's not for score anymore, but do you want to do it for yourself?
Yeah, and I mean, unfortunately, each dive is at least 8 minutes or so, depending on how efficient you get through it. But you know, it's always a tough call, especially being one of the feature runners, because I know you don't want to bow out in front of everybody. You want to grit and grind, and you want to overcome and have everyone sort of cheering you on. So I could respect it if he decides to keep moving on.
And maybe he's got to walk it off first before he takes another attempt. Okay, Brilliant is back to the water floor and getting a pack of waters.
Brilliant has a .32 for this match, so he still has a chance to lower his score here.
And obviously you're not going to make a huge difference As far as the final standings, you won't move up a bunch of spots, but still, there's anytime you're playing one of these seeds, you want to finish, even if the time isn't good. You usually just want to get through it if you're that close. But will Zana go back in? Will he just do a first floor grind? Will he go somewhere else to grind? He's headed back to Corneria first. I guess he's going to bring up everybody and get some levels on them, perhaps. But good to see he's going to try something different and see if he can still get this. Meanwhile, Brilliant is about to get to Kraken. With all 4 party members up, should be in good shape for this fight.
We have crossed the 0.25 mark, so we are very close to Brilliant's 0.32. If he can get through the end here, he might be able to lower it by a couple hundredths of a point here. So there is still something for him to play for. With Zalnop playing purely for pride here, let's cheer him on. And let's hope he finishes this thing, because certainly if you finish this, you've earned it.
And he starts off with Frost Dragons, Lit 3, and just destroying those low-level black belts. Which, if your goal is to level them up, you need to move the high-level black belt to the number 1 spot, and that would improve your odds quite a bit. So nothing's a guarantee, but whoever is in your first spot is the most likely to get targeted. So, little old red right there is the most likely to get hit. 1,000 experience each for that. Take you to 5, 6, 7, 8. Who do we appreciate? No. All the way to 10 for blue.
You're fired.
Brilliant is up to Tiamat 2 now. The Frost Dragons, that's not a welcome sight. He even resets without doing anything. Not even trying to get a spell off first. Tiamat 2 is down for Brilliant.
Those Frost Dragons are not messing around.
And those bad men can be pretty good experience, but they can also be pretty nasty. Wonder how... This doesn't look like a grind. This looks like he is actually diving. Can't imagine going such a garbage experience.
Yeah, I'm afraid he's thinking that he's just going to try and do his best and maybe try and get as far as he can with those 2 black belts in the front, but they really aren't going to last very long.
No, I mean, if he got him all the way to the water floor, Blaze is still going to knock them out.
It's not to mention the toxic... Or was it crack, maybe? Gur Medusas, whichever one it was.
It was toxic. Everything had toxic in this seed. This seed was toxic.
And this seed is a fan of Britney Spears, I'll tell you what.
Alright, so Brilliant against Chaos. And he's got that white shirt on the 3rd party member, that second black belt, so he's able to stack those while still doing the fast from the red mage and the attacks from the black belt. That's exactly what I like to see in this.
And I think
there's Zap. I don't know if that would be through a ribbon for Brilliant, but it worked nonetheless, and that's not pleasant.
I get the sense that he probably actually put them on the 2 level black belts. Nope, doesn't look like it. Never mind.
Still in good shape, 1,000 damage there. He's got the defense stacked pretty good with his white shirt, but no reason to quit too early. Also, this Chaos maybe attacking a little bit more, but that's it. It's GG for Brilliant, 4th place with time of 2:16.59.
And we're going to try and get him in here for some post-game commentary.
And Zalnab continues to try and work through this Temple of Fiends, which has not been nice to him at all.
Yeah, I think like we mentioned earlier, the momentum I think just never got going for him with the crushing defeats at the hands of Garland, and just not getting through the Kraken fight. It was just tough for him to do, and unfortunately, I think maybe brush the dust off your shoes and move on to the next event.
Those Medusas and that crazy toxic.
Yeah, I never really am a huge fan of pack encounters. 7 Medusas is a lot for my liking.
They hit 5 times, so it's a good thing they didn't have a status attack.
Yeah, we didn't actually. I don't think I saw who had Death Touch this game, and we lost our other runners. They've all gone off to do bigger and better things. We didn't really see who had Death Touch this game.
I don't think we did, and for whatever reason with Script Shuffle, it doesn't seem to come up as much. If you're just doing the shuffle that doesn't do scripts, you tend to see it more. I guess because there's fewer options for it to go to, because there's a bunch of monsters we just don't see as part of that equation.
Yeah, and there's only, if I remember right, there's only one enemy in this game with Death Touch, and I think it's the Sorcerers. And so that one Death Touch just gets shuffled to somebody else, and it's usually surprising who we see, but there are definitely a handful of monsters that we are likely not to see in the whole game. Sarias, potentially worms if you're not, or yeah, worms definitely, unless you happen to snag one in the Zardia Islands area. Wyverns you're only going to see if you're grinding steak and wings. They're an overworld only monster. Gerpedes you rarely see. Frost Gators, Red Caribs.
Yeah, and sometimes a monster could have it and you just killed it so fast you didn't notice. But they could also be on those super rare encounters like the Iron Groms that you're just not seeing. I mean, just think about this. There could have been dozens of seeds we played in this last year where T-Rex had nuke and just nobody saw it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think T-Rex rolled, I mean, like I said, it requires a little bit of luck from our runners to discover that, but T-Rex rolled very friendly considering no status attacks unless poison was the worst he did. No spells, low hit points, modest attack damage. And right now we are joined by Brilliant in chat. Brilliant, GG on your finish.
Thanks. How are you guys tonight?
Good. So you didn't have to run anything that had toxic in the seed, did you?
I saw them when I got down to the earth floor, but luckily I resisted it 28 times in a row.
Yeah, I've missed everything that had toxic this game because Medusas were one of, I think, 4 other monsters that had toxic this game, including Garland.
Yeah, I ended up wiping the Garland a couple times, but that was so long ago I forgot about it. I also saw the imps had something nasty, so I kind of got lucky I only saw that once.
Yeah, I think they had one of the 2 elementals.
It was Ice 2, I think. That seemed so long ago.
Just 2 hours
really
or so.
did.
So, how'd you feel about the progression of this one? Is there anything you would have changed in your route?
The only error I can think I made in my route was it wasn't until I got to the Waterfall that I noticed in counter 7 was the second after power cycle. At that point, I just turned around and went straight over to the desert for some T-Rexes.
Blue stakes were good to a couple of our runners this game.
Zalnap has cleared Kraken 2, now on to Tiamat. Chaos had kind of a lot of HP in this one, but if you had the level Black Belt, you're able to do enough damage.
Brilliant. Did your Red Mage have the ribbon, and did they get zapped through it?
No, I had the ribbon on my black belt because I figured if I can at least get fast and maybe 2 white shirts up, then they should be able to handle it from there.
Okay, did you only have one ribbon?
Yeah, I only found one.
Okay.
Alright, here we go with Zalnop, making sure life is full first. He's gonna put the red mage first.
Yeah, we're gonna see what happens because we know that Cure Force coming.
Can do the damage, especially on crits. One of his biggest problems is he just seemingly doesn't have Invis 2 and never found the white shirt, so those hits from Chaos are just devastating. And when he doesn't hit, he's doing Thunder, or Lit 2, or Swirl, or
Thankfully,
kinds of unpleasantness.
it looks like he's going a little better with it this time around.
Yeah, he had fast on the Moss Immune too, so able to do quite a bit more from the red mage than he was getting before. It's in good shape so far, it looks like. Out comes Tornado. Gas has got a pretty big list. 400 damage from the red mage. Good hit. 300 damage, but there's the cure for. I think he's pretty close.
That came so late in the table. It's tough. You can't really wait that out on the hope that he spends more time maybe casting abilities as opposed to spells, but it's just got to be demoralizing.
I think he's up to about 700 right now. Or about 1200. Call it 14. I'm rounding a little bit here. And one-shotted the red mage off that hit. Close to 2,000 damage.
Yeah, unfortunately, he found the opal bracelet in Mermaids and unfortunately wiped on his way out. And so he lacks the opal bracelet's defense.
I think he's over 4,000 now. Or close to it. He's got to be right up at 4,000. He took a wipe. Man, it wouldn't have taken more than one punch. It couldn't have been any more than one punch from...
Yeah. Zalnop, if you come back and watch this VOD, man, you are so close.
I mean, that's a difference of a crit along the way. Just unfortunate to see. So I think we're going to start to wrap this up. Any final thoughts, Brilliant?
Yeah, nothing in particular. I'm just looking forward to round 6. Maybe I'll see you guys tonight.
You in the Midnight Madness?
If I'm not too tired, I'll be there.
All right. Well, good luck going forward and appreciate the time today.
Yeah, so it's we're getting pretty close. We need to wrap this up and give Speed Gaming back to the channel. So as Zar, of course, is fluffing the chat with our links, feel free to give Speed Gaming and its auxiliary channels a follow. Much appreciation to Feasel for hosting us and getting us some exposure to a game that we just love and to a mod that we love. Huge props to Dude for tracking our race today. Give these runners a follow as well. Certainly go and cheer on Zalnop. It looks like he's taken a couple of seconds break to recollect his thoughts and is probably going to give this another crack, I hope. So go feel free to cheer him on as he goes and takes another crack at this. Trenton, it's always been a pleasure.
It is indeed. More excitement ahead with the randomizer. Said there'll be Midnight Madness to kick off the next round, but for more, always join us on the Discord and you can keep up to date with things as they go forward. Thanks to all of you who have spent some time on your Sunday afternoon with us today. Easy for me to say. I'm Trenton along with Swarzando. Thank you, dude. Thank you, Speed Gaming. Thank you, everybody, and have a great rest of your day.
I'll see you guys tonight.